Hi guys, today I would just like to do a short first impressions of the Neyman fader. So here it is. This is it. Obviously I have already made a couple of changes. I'll talk about them in a second. I'll show you the pictures of the before and after. But first off, let's start with the full disclosure. I have paid this what was full price at the time, which was 200 euros because it was pre-ordered. So I didn't get this for free from them, but I did get a lot of extra stuff in the same package. So for example, I did get a one-handed sword, which would be good for Mayor's Rapier. I got a back of head, I got a back of head protection, which is great. Matt Easton didn't like it, and I didn't think I would either, but I've been using it, and it's actually completely fine, especially for the price. I'll do a video on it as well. And I got a gorget, which I haven't tried yet because I have a problem with gorgets, but I will absolutely try it out just to tell you guys how it is. And of course the fader that I have actually paid for. Now the fader I didn't pay for, the very lovely engraving that you can see here. So Hema Reviews engraving, only on one side. I take it that the standard engraving is like it is here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's here. It's the Neyman logo. I'll put a picture up in the video. Okay, so the sword itself. First off, some quick statistics. It's quite a heavy sword, 1650 grams. I got it with rings, and when I ordered the sword, I just said, just send me a sword, whatever you think you want to send me, it's fine. But they didn't have rings at the time, otherwise I would have said no rings. They sent it to me with rings and I removed them. That's why this part is a little bit ugly. But the rings, if you like them, these are quite small, so you can't do a thumb grip through the ring. They are basically exactly the same size as these were, so that you get a feeling of how small they are. But if you only have them on like one side, that's fine. Okay. Heavy sword, 1650 grams, but the real kicker is the point of balance, which now, when I removed the rings and I slimmed down the handle, I'll give you a picture of the before and after of the handle slimming, it's at about 13 centimeters. Wait, let me see. Okay, here. So that's very, very, very far forward for a sword. In fact, it was so far forward, then when I got it, I was like, holy shit, I'm not sure I can actually even use this sword. It's gonna hit like a ton of bricks. Luckily, I was wrong. So I started using this sword. Oh yeah, the flex. Now, the flex is a weird thing with new swords because they do get softer after a while, and I've only been using this one for about 10 days. There is some flex, and it has been getting a little bit softer. I would say it's comparable to the Regenier heavy blades, so quite stiff, but the saving grace is it has a very nice thick point, right? So the Regeniers usually have a narrow point, this one's wide and it's thickened at the end. So I really like the point. I still find it slightly uncomfortable to stab with because I'm afraid that I'm gonna hurt people. But I have done full stabs and it was completely fine. So you can stab with a sword like pretty much full on and not worry about cracking ribs or whatever in my current experience. So for more, I will actually have to use this fader further. Now, I got a leather grip. This one is, I do this with all my swords. The leather grip got a couple of hits, and of course it gets weird. After that, I just put tennis tape on so that the grip is nice and tacky. The grip it wasn't that well done. There was a very visible seam, and the sides were a little bit uneven, but it was completely fine to use, and the leather they used was a bitch to take off. It was thicker than most of the other leathers I took off of handles of swords, and it felt like good quality leather. Like it was thick. It was, when I got a hit, it didn't actually like slice all the way through the leather like it does with most of the other swords, but it just kind of made a nick, and you could see that it didn't get all the way to the leather. So I think that's also the reason that the stitching was visible, because, you know, thicker leather is a little bit more difficult to work with. I do hope that they will improve this aspect though. But again, it's just an aesthetic kind of thing. The grip was also very wide, which is good if you have big hands. I don't have huge hands, so I slimmed it down quite a bit. Now, the usage of the sword was extremely interesting for me because I thought that I wouldn't be able to use the sword. And as you know, I like heavy, basically hard-hitting swords. Like the Ternava is my go-to recommendation, so if you ask me what sword do I want to buy, 8 times out of 10 I'm gonna say that you should go with the Ternava Light because it's a really good all-rounder. This is not a good all-around sword. This sword is not useful for tournaments. It hits quite hard, not as hard as I expected it to. I can actually do sparring with it. I thought at the start, after the first sparring, I thought the sword would be too heavy and too slow to do sparring with. I can do it. I am slower, and it shows, but I can still do relatively well in sparring, so it's not like it's useless for sparring. But this is not a sword that was meant for tournaments. It's a sword that was meant for practice, and that's where it really shines. It's a fantastic practice sword because when you hold it and when you kind of swing it, you can tell that it's a well-made sword. So all the things are where they need to be. The weight is in the correct parameters. Forward rotational point is correct. Both of the vibrational nodes are correct. So everything is fine. But you know, the point of balance is kind of was the off-putting thing, and now when I use it, I get what I wanted to do with it. It's a practice sword, and it amplifies everything you do. If you do something right, you're gonna know you did it right, and you're just gonna cut through the opponent's defense like hot knife through butter. If you do something wrong, you will know exactly the thing you did wrong. If you break your wrist, you're gonna feel it quite a bit. It doesn't really hurt unless you do it a lot, but you're gonna feel it. If you overextend your elbow, you're gonna feel it. If you put your point too low or too high or whatever, you will feel it. If you kind of waver your strike, you will know. And that's what makes this possibly the best practice sword I've had. But it's not a solo sword. If you buy this, and you want to go to tournaments, you also need a tournament sword. Anyway, those are my first impressions. I really like the sword. So until next time, have a good one.